What's going on, everybody? What's going on, H-Town, Houston Rockets fans all over the world, NBA fans? Welcome to Rockets Daily, brought to you by FanArch. My name is David Delano, and the goal here is simple: give you the best Houston Rockets coverage that we possibly can throughout the year, off-season, going into the draft, free agency, and hopefully talking about this 2026 NBA Finals next season with the Houston Rockets involved in it instead of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Definitely would appreciate it. That way you will be notified every time there is a video dropped. And feel free to leave a comment. I appreciate all the comments so far, even those who have said that the trade proposal that I threw out there the other day about Kevin Durant was ridiculous. That's perfectly fine, man. What I really want to do more than anything is not for you guys to agree with me. It's not for you guys to like what I say, but I want to engage with all the other Rockets fans out there and just talk some ball, talk about this team. It's definitely going to be a long journey, and the thing is, a lot of times trades that go through, you're going to feel that are ridiculous after they happen. That's just the nature of the beast with the NBA. There's going to be a lot of moves during the season, some that we're going to like, some that we're going to hate, some that are going to be, glamorous, some that are going to be a little bit boring, but, they all are part of the entire body of work that shapes the franchise. So feel free to keep those comments coming. Let me know any trade proposal ideas that you have, any thoughts that you have about anything involving the Houston Rockets. There's going to be some days that are busier news days than others, and right now we're entering that interesting time of the season. NBA Finals could wrap up in Game 6, and we're kind of waiting for a lot of things to start dropping with free agency. Fred VanVleet's contract extension. What are the Rockets going to do with that? Time is ticking. But as we wait, consensus that I'm getting from most of you guys, not just in the comments, but just around the city as well, from the hardcore Rockets fans, that most people are not big fans of Kevin Durant coming here. Completely understand all those years with Oklahoma City, Golden State. I'm now, team hopping a bit. If you're a Rockets fan, being a Kevin Durant fan, it doesn't really mix. And when you also look at the 2 championships that Kevin Durant's won, right or wrong, KD, the narrative out there is it was a little bit of front running. Even though he made the difference, I don't think they would have won that first championship against the Cavs if they would not have added Kevin Durant. But needless to say, it is what it is. He won a championship with a team who had been to the finals before. Not a situation where he's taking a team who has never been to the finals to that next level with where the Rockets are. So there's not really a lot of evidence that Kevin Durant would be the one to take a young team like the Rockets, a young, good team like the Rockets, over the hump and to the NBA Finals. And at 37 years old, really probably a 1-2 year rental. That really would be the goal, championship or bust in the next 2 seasons, or Kevin Durant could really derail your future. And I understand most of you guys don't want to see that happen. So there's some other options that we're going to talk about. Talked about Zach LaVine the other day. Possibly could be talking about him more. Is he somebody that I think would really be a strong fit on this team? But in addition to Zach LaVine, Cam Johnson, also a name that has been out there a little bit. Nets Daily a couple weeks ago mentioned a possible trade. Cam Johnson, Houston Rockets being a potential destination. If the Rockets would be willing to take on a bad contract and give up the number 10 pick. I'm wondering, is the number 10 pick going to be enough for Cam Johnson? Needless to say, Cam Johnson would be substantially less expensive than Kevin Durant, and Cam Johnson would also check a lot of boxes. Came into the league a little bit older, 6 years in the NBA, 29 years old, but definitely a guy that is willing to work defensively. I think that Udoka would help his game improve even more on that end, and he definitely would help fix a lot of the issues with three-point shooting. 18.8 points per game last season with the Brooklyn Nets, 39.2% career from three. Probably would make him the best three-point shooter on this team. Very strong from the line, over 89% from the free throw line last season. And I mentioned, I may touch on this again in another video, but last week we talked about the Ringers top 100 NBA players. There were 6 Rockets on that list. Cam Johnson was the only Brooklyn Net on that list, rated number 75, 75th best player according to the Ringers ratings in the NBA. And you can get him significantly less expensive than Kevin Durant. Younger player than Kevin Durant. Now, issue with Cam Johnson, though, as we're talking about, I mean, he has missed 89 games over the last 3 seasons. And in 6 NBA seasons, averaging just under 13 points per game. But he's never played more than 66 games in a season. So this is possibly, especially when you're trading, how much would you want to give up? I'd like for you guys to tell me, what do you think would be fair to give up for Cam Johnson? Obviously, it always is going to take something, or usually going to take something to get something valuable in return. Do you think the number 10 pick and taking on a bad contract would be enough? And do you want to take on a bad contract at all? So Cam Johnson, another name out there. Like I said, Cam Johnson, Zach LaVine could possibly be some alternatives to Kevin Durant. Some younger options, not quite as expensive. This next one here, before you guys kill me on this is something that is floating around a little bit, and website Bovada has some odds up about where Ben Simmons will be next season. And the Rockets are the 4th most likely option. They're the 3rd most likely option if he's still in the NBA. For those of you who follow, wagering lines at all, if you see a plus 700 means if you put down $10, you could get a $70 profit. They've got right now Ben Simmons destinations for next season. The Los Angeles Clippers at plus 375, Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 475. A job outside of basketball coming in next, and then the Houston Rockets at plus 700. So there is and a lot of times when these sites post lines like this, I mean, there definitely could be some interest there. They know something more times than not in a lot of different cases. Now, I'm gonna say this I'm just gonna put this out there. Ben Simmons is somebody that, for me personally, I don't have any interest in Ben Simmons coming to Houston at all. I don't have any interest in Ben Simmons, but I also don't run the Rockets. It's not like it's impossible. There's people that I talk to, Rockets fans. There's people that care for Ben Simmons. I personally, and if I don't have to, this could be the last time I talk about Ben Simmons. If these stories start to heat up more, I mean, we'll have to talk about him more, but Ben Simmons not the guy that I'm a big fan of. I mean, since coming into the league, he hasn't lived up to his potential. I all know Ben Simmons. I mean, was attempted with 2 3-pointers in his last 4 seasons. Kind of tired of hearing about if you know ball, then you realize how valuable Ben Simmons is to a team. And, he didn't have much of an impact for the Clippers. Didn't play too much for them in the playoffs, averaged just over 5 points per game. He can defend and all that, but so many young players on this team. Eason, Jabari Smith. Who's Ben Simmons really going to take minutes away from if you bring him on? Defense is not a problem on this team. Outside shooting is. Simmons does nothing to open things up inside for Şengün. Does nothing to give Jalen Green more room to work with. I don't care for Ben Simmons personally on this team. If there are anybody who has some love for Ben Simmons, who actually thinks, who would like to see him with the Rockets, because I know there's people I have discussions in person with these. It baffles me a little bit, but I don't really want to see Ben Simmons come here. Why am I even talking about this? Well, Ben Simmons, if he is in the NBA next year, after the Clippers and Cavaliers, it looks like the most likely destination, at least right now, is the Houston Rockets. So it's definitely something to discuss Ben Simmons possibly coming to the Houston Rockets next season. And another thing, too, we're going to talk about, I'm not going to take too much time on this, but I definitely think it's worth showing the Big Three some love. You've got the Houston Rig Hands. They've associated the Big Three teams with cities this season. Going to be out at the Toyota Center. The Big Three is on August 2nd of this year. They just had their opening week, and there's a lot of former Rockets shining in the Big Three. Definitely interesting. The Houston Rig Hands right now are led by Corey Brewer, who's assistant coach for the Pelicans right now. He had a strong first game. Houston won its first game against the DMV. And looking at moving forward here, you got Houston's taking on Chicago this week. And one thing that's really worth mentioning with Chicago, you can wonder why we're talking about this. They're led by Montrezl Harrell, and it's interesting that Harrell was the NBA Sixth Man of the Year not too long ago, just back in 2020. And only just 31 years young, had a very strong game in the first game of the Big Three. Started his career with the Houston Rockets. He's mentioned interest in getting back to the NBA. And it's always, when you see these guys play, you always wonder if there's somebody, not saying they're going to be a difference maker for a championship, but obviously you could get one of these guys back on the team or on any NBA team at a, basically a minimum price. It could just be a 10-day contract. Somebody to fill in the gaps potentially during the season. Some out of the guys in the Big Three that could potentially make a return to the NBA. Harrell, someone that could be interesting even for the Rockets to add for just, a 10-day contract at some point. But more so, as we're in a little bit of a slow sports season, Big Three had some exciting stuff going on. A little bit of a scuffle involving Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley, and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's in the Big Three. And we should see a nice, interesting matchup between Detroit, led by Isolation Joe, another former Rocket, going up against Michael Beasley in the Miami 305, another former Rocket. Michael Beasley, someone 38.5% three-point shooting for his career. A lot of off-the-court stuff. A lot of some of this. They were just saying some of this, a little bit of Fleece Johnson trash talk going on with Michael Beasley, but not somebody that I expect to see back in the NBA. Last played in 2019 for the Lakers, but not that he doesn't have the talent to do it, especially on a 10-day. But it's something to check out. Big Three, Miami, Detroit this weekend should be interesting. Chicago and Houston. Evan Murphy, former Rocket Hall of Famer, head coach of Houston in the Big Three. Clyde the Glide is the commissioner of the Big Three, so definitely a lot of Rockets connections throughout the league. And finally here we're going to talk about, and it's, not as much fun to talk about because this is Rockets Daily, but this is the NBA season. NBA Game 6 going tonight between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and definitely whatever happens in this series is going to have a trickle-down effect to the rest of the NBA. Halliburton, is he going to go tonight? I do see some player props at all the different places for those of you who are interested in that. You have him set at 13.5 points. I'm really leaning on the under there. I don't know how long he's going to go. I do think we're going to see him step up out on the court. I think he's going to play limited minutes. I don't think he's going to have his presence on the court goes beyond points, but I don't think that he's going to get over 13.5 points. So I would, for those of you who are interested in those types of things, I would take the lower than 13.5 points for Halliburton tonight. But we're going to see what's going to happen. And I mentioned yesterday, I'm also leaning here. I like the Oklahoma City Thunder to cover the -6. And it's, if the Oklahoma City Thunder win the championship, they already were the best record in the NBA. I do think, if you're thinking of just these next couple years, and also Oklahoma City's built for the long haul, is this more, may hate to say it, is this more pressure to pull the trigger on Kevin Durant? I mean, let's just be honest. It's going to be tough to get past Oklahoma City if you don't have that guy who can just get those consistent buckets and make those big shots on the perimeter. If you don't bring in Kevin Durant, who's going to be. Is it going to be somebody on this roster who improves? Is it going to be Levine? Is it going to be a complement of guys, a platoon of guys, including Cam Johnson? Let me know if you think that this roster as constructed can just improve with player development as we've been doing, adding a piece at number 10, and can continue to can overtake the Thunder next year. We'll see. If the Pacers somehow find a way to win this, I think that it's more of a testament to stay the course. And I know that Oklahoma City, they didn't make the big. They made some moves, with Hardenstein, but they didn't make the big move. Obviously, with they got SGA early in his career, wasn't really seen as what he is now. Gave up Paul George, but point being, they do have that guy in SGA that can just get the baskets when you need it. MVP. Who's that going to be for the Rockets next season? So, let me know your predictions for Game 6. I'm going to go with, I think Halliburton's going to be under 13.5 points, and the Thunder are going to cover this -6. Are you interested in the Big 3? Would you like me to talk about the Big 3 more in depth? Didn't want to get too deep into it. Well, it's Rockets Daily, but as we have these videos daily, you want to hear some more talk about the Big 3 in Houston or not something that you're interested in, let me know. Ben Simmons, if you're actually out there and you want Ben Simmons to come to the Rockets, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to assume it's a no. It's a no for me, okay? So don't go in the comments saying I want Ben Simmons. I don't want Ben Simmons here. And Cam Johnson, what do you think? Thanks so much for watching. I'm David Delano. This has been Rockets Daily. If you subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Any comments will be appreciated. Positive, negative, whatever. God bless and good luck.